Opinion on Drain Gang. I don't know what that is. Is that like hip hop? I'm a bit of a hip hopper myself. Do you have any thoughts on Rip Slime? No, I have no clue. I'm a big fan of Rip Slime, and I've been listening to Rip Slime nonstop this year, and I'm very happy that we're back as a 5-group guy unit. Because I don't know, I say I'm not necessarily a fan of rap and hip hop, but I have pretty much been listening to a lot of rap and hip hop over the past few years. Like I've always associated myself as being like someone who's into like rock and alternative rock, but I have just listened to a lot of like Japanese hip hop and rap. Oh, I'm not familiar with King Ghidorah. Is that also? No, I don't think I recall them. But I am a big fan of like Rip Slime, Punpee, Shelmiko, Halkali, who else? Chinsa Dopeness. Like it's it's a lot of Japanese hip hop actually. Okay, this is gonna sound really weird maybe, but I had a bit of a oh my god, those cats look amazing. Look at that. So for a long time I listened to a lot of really depressing Japanese rock music that was just like oh yeah, I love Halkari. I used to listen to a lot of depressing Japanese rock music where it's like Syrup 16G. And it's been called like the most depressing band in Japan because so much of the lyrics are just about depression and anxiety and like, in a way, kind of ideation of those things. I'm not really a fan of how it can come across as like almost romanticizing depression. But there was also something that really appealed to me about that kind of depression rock, which felt like so ruthless and brutal and honest in a way, where it's almost like the vocalist is like portraying like the worst side of himself, and he's not trying to make it like sound good. He's just being honest and being like, I think life sucks and it would have been worse if I wasn't alive. And I listened to that and I'm like, this is like beautiful. This is like a level of honesty that's like you don't hear, and it's like so, I don't know, laying it into hard in a way that sounds so... you don't hear it that often, I guess. It resonated with me in a way, but I think it resonated with me too hard also, where it just permeated into my mind this kind of depression sound. And I kind of started to feel like, you know, the only thing that's real is this kind of depression, this kind of depression rock. Everything else is fake. Unless it's like people singing about sad stuff, and it's not real. And eventually I kind of had to realize that, like, authenticity... I mean, authenticity is, like, such a big topic for me, because I'm so fascinated by it. Well, so for a long time I really listened to a lot of, like, depressing music. And I at the time, I just felt like this feels authentic, and I like the sound. But I do honestly think, looking back now, it kinda, like, warped my mind in a bit, where I was like... I was vibing a bit too hard with the depression. And when I felt bad, I would listen to it and be like, this is sort of like ruminating. Like, at one point I realized this is not helping me process, like, me feeling bad or sad. It's just me ruminating in the sadness, and it's actually helping me feel worse. Winbearer calls himself authentic. I guess, I don't know, I think it's kind of like, I don't know, I would like to aspire to come across as authentic, right? But at the same time, I guess this is maybe a bit controversial to say. It's like the only conclusion you can make the further you go into like authenticity is that like you can't really judge what is authentic for other people or what is truly authentic as an art form. Like the only way you can look at authenticity is like what is authentic to yourself. And I guess that was something that became like an interesting question to me, because I did feel like this depression rock music was like so authentic in a way. But in the end of the day, it's like, no, it's only authentic to me. And it was kind of like shown quite clearly when I showed this music to other people, and they were just like, I don't hear it. Because like, of course, it's only to me, it's not to them. And I got really upset because I showed the music to a girl, and she was like, no, I think we're faking it. And I was like so upset. And I was like, what do you mean we're faking it? Because it sounded so authentic to me. And she was like, I think they're just playing it up for like, you know, I don't know, they just want to come across that way to be edgy. And I was like, oh, seething inside. But, and then I asked her, okay, well, what is authentic to you? What is authentic music? And she said, like, Katy Perry. And I was like, that blew my mind, because I was like, what the fuck do you mean, Katy Perry? I asked, what is authentic music? And your answer is Katy Perry? But that was also a moment where I realized, like, who am I to judge Katy Perry and if she is being authentic? Like, a lot of people genuinely just like that kind of music. A lot of people genuinely want to make that kind of music. So it would be wrong to me to judge that as inauthentic purely based on like an aesthetic and be like, no, this is not like aesthetic enough to be honest and authentic. It also took me a while to realize I should not. Yeah. I feel like, yeah, counterpoint, devil's advocate, Katy Perry, and I don't know. It made me upset, but at the end of the day, all I could do was agree with her and be like, you know what, she is right in a way. Like, some people want to make music where they say I'm being authentic to myself, and then they make it, and what they end up making is like Imagine Dragons. And they're like, thunder, feel the thunder. And they're like, this is the most genuine emotion I've ever heard. Because in the end, they're just relating it to their own life, right? So yeah, anyway, long story short, part of me, I appreciate your ability to consider a perspective too. I would have judged. Yeah, I mean, I did. That was, you know, I fell prey to that as well. You know, of course, in the moment of that, I fell prey to that, and I was like, what is wrong with her? How could she, oh, she doesn't get it, she doesn't care about this kind of stuff, whatever. Authenticity is like, I don't know, an interesting thing. And I can say, you know, I've kind of judged people in different ways with that also, you know, where I'm like, I've heard Vtubers do like super cute anime voices, and it's like, that's not real. But then, you know, all I could think later was like, you know, that it doesn't actually matter if that's like not how they speak in real life, because like, that's just like how they want to portray themselves, and that's fine. Like, everything doesn't have to be a specific way, and in some cases, you know, me speaking different to other people is not me being less authentic, right? It's just me portraying something different, a different part of myself. So I get it though, if people are like, I don't vibe with anime girls or VTubers with super high-pitched voices who are kind of forcing it, because yes, I mean, it doesn't have to be your thing, and it can be the case that someone is just doing it because they're like, this is what VTubers do. But I think it would be the wrong approach to say this is inauthentic, you know? Like, odds are you probably talk to your parents in a different way that you talk to your friends, and that's not you being inauthentic, it's you having different sides to yourself. And you would probably approach, like, making YouTube videos and streaming in the same way as well, right? So I think that's like a good way to approach authenticity. Yeah, it's gonna be a slice of the soul, and I will admit, like, I was like too harsh in like doing my casual judgment of people of like what is authentic or inauthentic. I was wrong in that. Even I never made a big statement. I'm apologizing for my own thoughts that I never expressed to anyone. But in my search for music that sounded authentic, that kind of brought me to like Japanese hip-hop and rap, because I was like, I listened to that with the idea of trying to be open-minded, and I listened to Chel Miko, and I was like, this sounds genuine to me. It's like pop, and it's produced, but listening to Chel Miko just sounded like two people being like, we just genuinely want to make music that sounds fun, and like people having a good time. And you know, that can be absolutely authentic. I don't have to see myself as the edgy, brooding person, you know? So yeah, for that reason, one, Chel Miko will always have a special place in my heart. And I think I've also opened myself up to just listening to other forms of things and approaching that with a sense of like, you know, this is genuinely authentic, just being fun and having happy thoughts. There's someone shooting someone. They're shooting me. Kill him. Anyway, having happy thoughts and such. Oh my god, I did really well in this level. I have to pat myself on the back. I didn't even know this big level was this big. Remember, I started from a tiny little room in the beginning, right? It's been a long time since then. It's kind of difficult. I mean, I have mixed feelings about all of that stuff, like, because there definitely is a lot of, oh no, I forgot to bring it back. I did all that. And I forgot to bring it back to where it was. I forgot I was supposed to do that. That kind of mentality can also be used for the good. If I come across someone with a forced voice, it just sounds anxious. I'd rather than be comfortable than nonchalant too on the opposite. Yeah, I think that is also a thing to consider, right? Like, I think it's actually the case that, like, a lot of streamers and YouTubers and such, and, like, they... how should I put it? They don't typically do it because they're like, this is what my voice should be. Because usually it's just like, oh, this is, you know, they're nervous, and this is sort of like their go-to voice for that. And like, now I've talked to a lot of VTubers behind the scenes, where I would have thought like, oh, she's putting something up for the stream. And then I just hear her in voice chat, and I'm like, oh, she just sounds like this all the time. Oh yeah, it's also like a common thing in like radio as well, like, and acting, where, in radio, you often hear, like, people doing radio voices, because people put up this idea of, like, this is what you do in radio. You do the radio voice, and this is how I know that I sound good. And it can take 10 years or whatever for people to realize, like, wait, Pete, this sucks. Like, this is not good. Radio voices are not good. And people don't actually want to hear them. But people start radio, and they come into it with this idea of, like, if I do this, enunciate, do loud, obnoxious laughs, and talk in a specific way, then people want to, like, hear that, or this is how I do good radio, this is how I sound good. But it's almost always the case that people just want to hear people, like, talk casually. Like, people don't want to hear, like, a forced voice or anything like that. They just want to hear regular people talk how they talk normally.